And welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the High Low Sports Podcast. We appreciate you all so much for joining us here on this Wednesday evening, or if it is one of your favorite places to check out podcasts later on in the week. It is always a fun time. We're entering the middle of April, the middle of spring. It's in the air, and we're going to talk all about what's going on in the wide world of sports. It is me joined always by my co-host Kelcey, on the road now as well. Kelcey joins from a random motel in the mid-Atlantic Northeast. Kelcey, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today.
Yeah, you kind of sounded like you were saying northeast, south corner of Louisiana State University type of stuff.
I could make
All
up
of
a
the
line
Water
for
Boy.
you.
But it's not a motel. I'm at least in a little bit better than a motel. On my tour of more, courting Kelceys, if you will, and visiting a few more, areas, as you said, in the mid-Atlantic Northeast area, the corridor, however you want to say it. But yeah, no, it's been a fun week. About to head back to Ohio, but yeah, no, I couldn't miss the show again. I already missed because I was sick. I'm not coughing. I'm not dying, and at least this time I can venture to be on here. No NDAs were signed.
Coughing up a few tears after watching the Luka Doncic tribute as he got ready for that Lakers game in Dallas and the little tribute they got for him. So maybe a few little coughs here and there, but not for those reasons.
Exactly. Well, and I'm also in the same city that the Wizards play in, so now I didn't thankfully have to watch them. So not too many tears shed today. And the Dodgers are losing in the city while I'm here. That's always a plus too.
Honestly, that might be the best part of the entire thing for you. That's the pinnacle for you. But we mentioned the NBA. We're going to be talking a lot about the NBA today, so that's a good way to just lead us right into our first part of the show. That is the tip-off, brought to our good friends over at SeatGeek. Use code BELLUPSPORTS, $20 off your first purchase. Sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, anything that requires tickets, code BELLYUPSPORTS. Get yourself $20 off that first, but only the first purchase. And we're going to start out with arguably the big news of the week in Denver. Mike Malone and GM Calvin Booth are both out in Denver, the GM and the head coach, both getting fired with less than a week left in the regular season. If I'm not mistaken, it is 3 games. And they're like, you know what? It is so toxic in here. You're getting out now. We're not going to let you taint our what will probably be a short playoff run, barring a miracle. So Denver enters this post-Malone era with Mike Malone no longer at the helm. No GM either, so they're going to restart from scratch, which an unprecedented situation to see a team really a game and a half out of the 3rd seed. Like 3 through 6 is all separated by like a coin flip.
Yeah.
And the best
3
player
through 8, really.
Yeah, 3 through 8. The best player in the world, arguably, if not, he's top 3 and he's not 3 by all accounts. And you're in a situation with no coach and no GM heading into the playoffs. Absolutely baffling. And I get maybe Mike Malone's time might have been done in Denver. There was a lot of, you could tell from his press conferences sometimes, like it felt like the writing was on the wall, but really 3 games left in the regular season. Like you couldn't have just waited, let's see, 2 weeks maybe. Let's say they have an early exit because it's that bad. You couldn't have waited 2 weeks. Like what Cancun can wait 2 weeks. That's what I thought was very unique is they waited till now to do it.
Yeah, this is odd. Obviously all the reports say they had already agreed. The Kroenkes had already agreed to part ways with both coach and GM at the end of it. And I get it. It was a toxic environment, whatever. I'm going to get rid of a GM before I'm going to get rid of a coach. If I'm just being honest, that team needed help on the personnel side. We've seen what Mike Malone can do with subpar rosters and what he's been able to do with really good rosters and what he's been able to do with this roster, which I'd say is in between the two. I don't think it's a perfect roster. I think it's an in-between roster. And the greatest player currently in the game today, arguably number 1, potentially 1B if you really want to get there. And it's shocking. Every report I see that they're like, yeah, we're just going to go ahead and do it now. And I'm like, why? Why? You have a good team. They can win playoff games. You can get to another Western Conference Finals. Can you beat the team you end up playing in the Western Conference Finals? If Jokic plays well, absolutely. You've seen what Jokic can do when it's just a Jokic show in the Western Conference Finals. You win a freaking title. Like, what are we doing here? If you're the Nuggets, do you really think you can get an injection in 3 games that don't really matter? Like, you guys are going to end up 4th or 5th in the West, and you're like, oh, that's not good enough. What are we doing? This isn't the Jazz situation, where you have Donovan Mitchell and you're just jacking up threes all the time. You don't play defense. You're just, you're getting by that way, and then have 0 defense. Like, this team is actually good under Mike Malone. It was getting better at times. Obviously, they had ups and downs as everybody does, as injuries go, as players can perform and don't perform. Like those all get adjusted. And yes, there was a disconnect between GM and coach, but this one baffles me more than the Memphis firing, if I'm being completely honest. Like this one just is shocking. And I guess Mike Malone will never get a tribute video in Denver is what this means.
Not at all. We talked about the Grizzlies one when it happened. That was weird, but that was at least with a month left to go in the season. Like there is less than 100 hours left in the season, obviously not including like 100 playing hours left. Whatever you want to say. There's 3 games left. That it is almost over at this point. Like
I guess 130 playing hours, 136 playing hours, but still less than 140 playing hours.
It's around the corner, and you're telling me you couldn't just wait. I get the GM out of there if it's that toxic, okay? Because right now you can, for lack of better terms, play without a GM. Like in theory, I know there's still like the offseason, the scouting, all of that. But like you mentioned, I think the GM was the bigger issue. You look at Bruce Brown, Torrey Craig, just some of the guys they had 3 max players, one of which just hasn't been healthy consistently with Jamal Murray. Like he's awesome in the playoffs. Playoff Jamal Murray is a real thing. The problem is 82 games of Jamal Murray. There's not a whole lot there, unfortunately. It's very hit or miss just due to injuries and not being overly available. Jokic, we already talked about. I think the roster construction has been issued. And you never hear their names when somebody's available. Like when there's the Jimmy Butler thing, we did not hear the Nuggets name once. When anyone's available, obviously weren't in the Luka thing. That was weird. So I won't hold that against. But like anytime somebody's available to move, Karl Anthony Towns is no, it didn't hear from them. Anytime someone's being moved, the Nuggets are never in the conversation. And when you have the best player in the world, arguably, I'm saying arguably for like the 7 people that disagree, you've got to do everything you can to utilize that window. The Warriors said they were going to do it with Steph Curry. We will maximize his window. He's almost 40, and they're going to get Jimmy Butler, and they've been incredible since they got him. They're doing something every single year. The F the future, F them picks, is they're taking the Rams method more or less. The Heat did it when they had LeBron there because you have a window. The Cavs did it with LeBron, and they've had to rebuild twice since then, but now they're outstanding. Like there is light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know why the Nuggets have not done that, and it comes down to either the owner won't let him spend a certain amount of money because we know how those NBA contracts go, or the GM's not GM in the way he should be. And the guy who helped build that championship team, well, we see what he's been doing in Minnesota because that is a dangerous team that has beat them 6 times in a row, I believe is the number, 6 or 9, something absolutely ridiculous like that. So I get why he had to go, but we're on the same page. Mike Malone could have waited 2 weeks. He could have been fired in May. Like there was not going to be, it was not destined for a long playoff run. And if it was, you can make him the first championship winning coach that gets fired afterwards if it's that bad, and it'd be hilarious. There are ways around this. This just felt so randomly weird, unless there was a fist fight we just haven't heard about yet.
Yeah, you kind of almost wonder if there was in the background if they legitimately got into a fight, or if it was a bad enough argument that it disrupts the working environment permanently. Like that's possible. I'm not going to disagree with that possibility, but it seems extreme in this day and age for basketball, and especially for the Kroenikes who don't spend a lot of money in general. Like, I mean, they own a couple of sports franchises across the board, the Avalanche, the Nuggets. You talk about even overseas football, so soccer in Tottenham. Like, they spend money, but they don't spend a lot of money. They let Harry Kane walk away from Tottenham in the same way. Like they don't care. But then the one thing they've seemed to have always cared for is like getting rid of coaches in the most random times. George Karl being the first one. This is being the second one, and Mike Malone. And by the way, let's not even forget this. The amount of coaches between George Karl and Mike Malone was what, 1, 2, if that.
Like that. Yeah, it wasn't
It was so thin that you don't remember the in between because you went from one great to another, and it's like it's been a decade since Mike Malone was not on the sideline. Like tonight's their first game, and you're just sitting here wondering what is going to be next for Jokic, what's going to be next for Denver, because the Jamal Murray extension probably was a mistake. That's a GM thing. The Bruce Brown acquisition, while I'm a Bruce Brown stan at the right system, I don't think this is the right system for him to be able to have his best advantage. Him playing that jack of all trades role like he did in Brooklyn was fantastic. Him in this role, I don't know. Torrey Craig is the same way. Like, I don't know if this is the right system for it. Michael Porter Jr., I've always questioned how good he could actually be in the NBA because he's not healthy. Obviously, Jamal Murray signed the extension. Has been hurt pretty much since he signed the extension. Like, if you're Aaron Gordon, it's been Aaron Gordon and Nikola Jokic, and really just Nikola Jokic with a sprinkling of Aaron Gordon looking like, discount Aaron Gordon. So it's tough to watch this team. I mean, Russell Westbrook has a rejuvenation, I guess, but I don't know, man. This from a standpoint of construction, I don't care what the GM wanted to be played. The fact is, the players that were able to play healthy and actually play together weren't working enough to make Jokic succeed. So I question what's going to happen in the future with Jokic, what's going to happen in the future with Michael Porter Jr., what's going to happen in the future with Jamal Murray at this point, because we just don't know yet. And this franchise that was building in Denver that was so good, so fun to watch, that we know plenty of Denver Nuggets fans that have been excited and waiting for this moment, as obnoxious as Denver fans can be. The Generals, it's like you kind of feel good for them after all the bad years of Denver basketball. And now you're going to be suffering because your owners wanted to make a rash decision and fire two people because they just didn't care. They didn't want to pick a side. The fact is, you don't have a luxury to not pick a side if you're an owner. You pick the side that's best for the team. That's the side you pick. You don't go neutral in this situation. And this isn't Switzerland. This is a basketball ownership. You're making money. You're trying to win championships. You have to pick one. You can't just be Switzerland. And I think the Kroenikes really kind of dropped the ball on this one. And unless they go out and get one of the best coaches ever, maybe they go get Taylor Jenkins from Memphis. I don't know. I don't think he's the best coach ever, but, I'm just trying to think of what they have in mind here. Like, there's no Pat Riley out there that they can just come in and fix this with. There's no Phil Jackson that can just come in and fix this with it. I swear to God, if Phil Jackson shows up in Denver, though, I might lose my mind. Like, I just don't know what the Kroenikes are doing.
It's very weird because the Bucks kind of started this a couple of years ago and they fired Budenholzer and just kind of raised tech. And then halfway through the next year, they fired and brought in Doc Rivers, and it's been a roller coaster since then. We now see this with the Nuggets. It's been a roller coaster. Celtics fans, you're okay right now, but be weary for 2026. It might get weird really quickly. Missoula might be in danger too. So it seems like you win a title, then within like a year and a half, things fly off the rails. It's very, especially for teams that are almost not favored to go back to back, but pretty darn close. Like the Bucks after that championship run, where I think second best odds to win it again. Nuggets, same thing. Celtics this year, I believe. Like it's just.
Can
crazy.
you even go back to Toronto with Nick Nurse being the first one? Is that possible?
He's survived a few more years. Like he survived like 4 more years.
So okay, I didn't know. I couldn't remember if it was right after, the year after, year and a half, or whatever. But
he got some leeway. He got some leeway mostly because after Kawhi left, right after, like, okay, we can't really expect you to do too much now that mercenary is gone after winning us a chip, and then he immediately just left the country to go to California. Yeah, so I do think I'm curious to see what they do here. Obviously, I don't think this means Jokic is leaving. I know they've already been like, the Lakers had the best odds to sign him. I don't know if that's the case. But I do know whoever comes in next, they got to be not full roster reconstruction, but they got a little bit of work to do, I think. Like they need you have the best player in the world who literally elevates everybody because he's the best passer in the game. Debatably, but arguably the best passer in the game right now. You don't need to do a lot, but you got to get something there. Just a little something. If Jamal Murray stays healthy, then holy cow, you might end up being the favorites again. So I don't think they're really not that far off. Last year, they lost in a 7-game series to the Timberwolves while up 20 in the second half. It's not like they just went off a cliff after they won the championship. They did everything in their power to win that series until they had to win it. And then this year, they were still the third seed with all the dysfunction, with Jokic having an all-time great historic season, which 87% of the time in NBA history would be an MVP season, which it might still be this year. We'll have to wait and see. But we'll go ahead and let us know down in the comments below what you all think of the Mike Malone firing and who you think the next head coach in Denver will be, or if you think they're about to go on a championship run, because I don't think they're going to with all the chaos going on. I think the championship window for this year is probably, I won't say closed. When you have Jokic, it's still there, but it's real thin. Like think skinny thoughts and still not getting through. But
I'll say this is the best test run for their assistant that's coming in as interim. He's obviously been a conversation for head coaching jobs before. This would be the best test run. You have Nikola Jokic. You can't really screw this up. Like, at the end of the day, you're just going to be out there saying, all right, let's run it around Nikola and see what happens. Let's run around Jokic. Let's go. Let's Joker offense, play 1, 2, and 3. Like take your pick.
That's pretty much what the owner said is, all right, guys, have fun and play hard. It's like, all right, that's our mantra. It's Coach Carter. We're going to run. But we didn't practice any offense. What did we do? We ran. Oh, no. That's what we're going to do. We're going to run.
They're going to jog because don't forget, Jokic is still on the team.
That's true. They got to play better defense before they can run. So, like, we're going to shoot. That's what instead we're going to run.
We're going to actually make it in the bucket. We're not just going to hit rim and backboard every time.
We're going to shoot and we're going to dunk. That's what we're going to do. Defense, you mean more offense. We're going to copy the Alabama college playbook. We're going to score. That's what we're going to do. Speaking of Alabama and college basketball, we will touch on the Florida Gators getting another championship, adding to their mantle with a Final Four victory, surviving Auburn and surviving Houston by the skin of their alligator teeth. It doesn't get much closer than that. They were down for 98% of the game and still found a way to pull it off. So, Kelcey, much to your dismay, the Gators and the SEC does win the championship, but it wasn't quite one of the one SEC team that you actually wanted to win the championship.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the Gators, if they were obviously a favorite coming in, up until the Final Four, it felt very clear and obvious, but I still think Auburn, they found a way to survive because Auburn was in control until like midway that second half. Then Houston, like we just said, you were down 98% of the game or 99% of the game and you still found a way to win, which I almost give them more credit for because that shows a nice resiliency that's kind of fun as opposed to somebody cruising through the whole way. So kudos to them. And the last thing I'll say is clearly Auburn and Houston did not watch our scouting reel on you must stop Walter Clayton Jr. at all times, not just for the first half like Houston did. It needs to be for all 40 minutes. I know he's only like 6'2". He's like 21 years old, so he's a little bit older for a basketball player coming out. I know he's more of a combo guard than a point guard and that at 6'2", 6'3" is not great. He's going to be a good player in the NBA. He's not going to be a perennial all-star or multiple-time MVP probably. I'm not going to say Steph Curry and Damian Lillard mix like some people were trying to say. Like, he's not a combo of those two.
No.
He's just going to be a good player. You saw it. He had, 12 points and 8 assists almost all in the second half against Houston. We saw what he did against Auburn where he just completely ignored what we said and decided he's going to go be a walking bucket. He's playing 2K out there, so he's going to be a nice player in the NBA. I don't know if he's going to be elite, but he's going to find a niche and he's going to be really nice. But other than that, the Gators, you know what I'm just going to give my hats off to him. What a great run, as much as I was rooting for their downfall. Oh, what a great run that was for him.
Yeah, I don't hate the fact Florida won. Let me be very clear. It wasn't Alabama. That's the only thing that matters. It wasn't Duke.
That's what matters here.
Yeah, it wasn't Duke. It wasn't Alabama. Those are two of the big three that I could have preferred it not be. The third one being UConn, or not UConn, but UNC. I just wouldn't have lived that one down. But no, look, okay, let me start with the champions. Let's start with Florida. As you mentioned, Clayton is just a fantastic player. He's like a Monte Ellis type of player in a lot of ways. Maybe not as explosive or as quick, but he still gets to the bucket. He can still shoot threes. He can shoot the jumper. He can get by you. He can play a little bit of defense. You're not asking him to play a whole lot of defense. Obviously, that's something at the next level he needs to improve. He's got the ball handling. He's got the intelligence to play that position and play it at the next level. As a 6'2" guard, obviously, you need to be able to shoot a little bit, but you need to also be able to get up or get down and get shots up, in down low. And that's not easy for every small guard. But in his situation, he's able to do it, and he's able to do it well. He against Auburn with multiple shot blockers on the court, against a potential Naismith Hall of Fame, Naismith Player of the Year, against one of the best defenders in Chaney Johnson and Dylan Caldwell. He's able to go up against them time and time again, blow by them one, and then get the shot up and not get it blocked while not dunking. He's just laying it up, and he's getting these shots up and not getting them blocked time and time again. He goes off to score plus 30 in that game, and you're just like, I don't know what to do with this. And, Auburn played great defense. Houston played great defense on him until they didn't. And until they didn't is he started making his shots again. And that's kind of how it worked against Auburn. That's how it worked against Houston, is when he gets hot, it's a microwave effect. I mean, he's hot and it stays hot. And you just have to live with that. And you have to continue to keep doing your thing. And that's the thing, getting to Houston side of things. At the end of the day, they didn't keep doing what Houston does. When they got the lead and it was in the fourth quarter, it was almost like you saw the perennial football style of prevent defense and safe offense. We're going to run the ball 3 times, give the ball back if we don't get a first down. That's kind of what it felt, but basketball version of it, where it didn't feel like they're running their offense as effectively as they could, and it felt like their defense was afraid to foul. And that's something for Kelvin Sampson's teams. He's does a great job coaching. It's shocking to see that at the end of the game, and you could see it on the sideline. He was livid with his team, livid that they wouldn't play their game, because it was almost like you would run the clock down and then you would not know what to do on offense, because now you have 4 seconds left and you're jacking up a shot because you're covered. Like, that's not helping anybody, and you're jacking up a bad shot and you're missing. Then it's an instant run out for Clayton. I mean, this is just Florida played their best game. Todd Golden coached a great game down the end, and that was one thing when we were on Jared's show that I talked with Subi was, in Florida's case, they do the best front running. And by front running, it's 2 different ways. You either get ahead and stay ahead, or you just put the pedal to the metal and you try to counter every single time and get a fast break. And that's what they did against Houston. That's what they did against Auburn. They started their offensive run on fast breaks, and Houston couldn't keep up with them. You start pressing on the reverse side if you're Houston, trying to match what they're doing, and you're not used to doing that. It's never going to work. So I think Florida did a good job in this entire run, whether it was a close game or a blowout, of just playing their game time and time again. Todd Golden just coached his game time and time again. His team just matched up well. Condon did a great job against Auburn defensively. And then in Houston, he did a great job rebounding. And that's something when you look at it, like his second chance opportunities sets up Clayton for so many different opportunities. And I don't even know who the number 13 kid is, that the former walk-on ended up at Florida scoring clutch time baskets against Auburn. He plays the simplest offense in the world. Set a screen, catch the ball, dribble, handoff. Like, set us another screen. Like, simple, effective. But that's the type of players that Florida gets, that they buy into the system. That's what Todd Golden does. That's what coaches like Bruce Pearl do. That's what Gino Auriemma on the women's side always get. They get players that know what they're capable of and know what they can do well, and they coach them to do that, and they come in big in the biggest situations, and they open up their star players to play and do their thing. And that's what you see from Florida. That's what you saw, when they matched up against Auburn. That's what you saw when they matched up against Houston. So I think I enjoyed the championship game. I was like, from a neutral standpoint, I did enjoy it. I did want Houston to win personally, but from a neutral standpoint, it was fun. Now, I was watching it with guys from Houston and guys from Florida. Now, they weren't from Gainesville, thankfully, but they are from Florida. So obviously by that, they're de facto Florida fans. None of them were Florida State fans, so they were able to go for Florida. So yeah, it was a very fun, back and forth from them. And here I am as an Auburn guy, like, I wish I was here. It was overall, though, it was really fun. It was a fun game. It was a great matchup for what has been kind of a chalk tournament. And I'm excited for what the NIL is going to do going forward, because now we know these coaches are going to be deciding the futures of these teams in a lot different ways than they had in the past. So I'm excited to see what Todd Golden, what Kelvin Sampson can do and reload with going forward, because these guys, it's not like everybody's leaving from these two teams. You get 2 or 3 players maybe going, you're going to refill them with 3 or 4 or 5 guys coming up from, mid-majors or anything like that, or maybe some freshman superstars. They're going to come in, they're going to be effective. Your young guys are going to be more experienced. So I don't know. I think this set the table for a long run for both teams, but I think from the standpoint of this season, probably one of my favorite championship games in recent memory.
I was happy for Sampson and Houston, because the last couple of tournaments have been rough early endings for them, like highest heat, and unfortunately bounced a little. So it's nice of them to get that monkey off their back and get so far and within literally a fumble basically away from winning a national championship. So it absolutely great.
And tough break at the end.
Absolutely. It doesn't get much more painful than that to not even get a shot up and the ball to just basically sitting there. And it's like, there's almost like when they say time slows down in those weird moments, like 1 second feels like 30 for you. It probably felt like 1,000 years for all of them just sitting there watching the ball. What felt like 2 seconds for us was just bouncing at the end. Either way, so let us know down below what you guys thought of the championship game. That's now going to take us out of the tip-off and into the main event. And for the main event, we're going to stay on the hardwood. We are going to be talking about basketball. We're heading back to the association. The regular season's virtually over. I know there's 3 games left, but we're going to pick some all-NBA teams, what we're going to do. We got NFL draft season coming up, so we're going to lock in on the all-NBA team, since there is not a lot that could happen in these next, 45 times 3, so 135 minutes of basketball per team, give or take. Not a lot's going to change for these teams for us, so we kind of know where we're going with this. We're going to go first, second, and third teams. We're going to rip the Band-Aid off of the first team because, well, like everybody else and the March Madness, we are sticking mostly chalk with this one. We both have Shai Gilgeous Alexander, Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Nikola Jokic as our first team. All NBA, the only caveat I can see some saying is maybe Donovan Mitchell doesn't quite make it just because his numbers aren't blossoming as much compared to previous years. But you and I are in agreement, you're the best player on the best team who's taken less numbers to have such a dominant team, so that's going to make you first team. And while there's plenty of other good players, I'm not taking that spot away. And the other 4, you could chalk them in right now. They're going to be all but unanimous, I feel like.
Yeah. There's a case to be made. Maybe Donovan doesn't make it. There might be a couple guys who are on our other teams that might have an opportunity there. But yeah, I feel like looking at this, like SGA and Jokic were my 2 easiest picks, period.
They should be unanimous.
Yeah. Giannis and Tatum, probably my second, third, and fourth easiest picks. Like it was like, all right, well, who do I need here? Giannis was my first option. Tatum was like, yeah. For me, Donovan is there just because I like him. What he's done more, I think, has been more impactful. Especially you look at what Cleveland just went through in the offseason. Obviously, you change coaches. You're not sure what you're going to get. Now you got everybody healthy this year. And there was a stretch. There was still a stretch where they lost Darius Garland and Evan Mobley for like 3 games, 5 games. It's like you still recover from that. It's not bad. And Donovan Mitchell continued to carry the way. And that's the impressive thing about what he does is, and thankfully, none of these guys have to worry about not being eligible for the 65K minimum. That's the good thing is they all played at least 65 games. But no, I think this is honestly probably the easiest first team in a while. And I do see a situation where Donovan Mitchell is not a first teamer, and depending on who they put there, I can understand it. But for me, he's there just based off his pure performance and how that team's performed. I think best team on the best player, best team, you got to be up there.
So like they've been 7-10, 7-3 in the last 10, and they have clinched the East, and they have won 63 games already with 3 to go. So round of averages, you can say they're going to win 65 games, give or take. And if you do not have somebody on that team on the first team, would be a little bit surprising, especially when his numbers are still good. I mean, he's still giving you like 25, 5, and 5, give or take. It's not like they're bad numbers by any means. They're just not, or maybe it's 24, 23. He's just not lighting it up necessarily like he's done in previous years, but that's for the cost of winning. So we're in the same page there, same starting 5 for the first team, like just about everybody else, I'd say. But now is where we'll get into a little bit of fun. We're going to get into second and third teams where we got 3 pounds of potatoes in a 1 pound bag. So there's going to be some people left off and some people that are thrown on there where people might scratch their noggins. But I'll go and rip into my first team as well. Then we'll jump into Kelcey. So looking at my second team, Steph Curry, Anthony Edwards, Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley, Karl Anthony Towns. Anthony Edwards, Cade Cunningham, and Evan Mobley, I believe, are on yours, so I won't go too deep into them. Evan Mobley should be Defensive Player of the Year. He won't be, unfortunately, but he should be. His marketing campaign, I guess, let him down is what it ends up being. Maybe he needs a podcast too. Or he's welcome to come on ours. Whatever it is, Evan Mobley should be Defensive Player of the Year. Cade Cunningham and Anthony Edwards both have an incredibly strong case. If Donovan Mitchell doesn't get that first team spot, those two are right in the mix of it. What Cade and Detroit has done this year, ironically, J.B. Bickerstaff, the old Cleveland coach, has been nothing short of remarkable. Anthony Edwards, especially the last 3 months, has been a bucket. He's arguably the best 2 guard in the game. He's basically, after he joked about not getting tired of people double teaming him, he has been cooking ever since then. Steph Curry, since the Jimmy Butler trade, that looks like vintage Steph. He's been incredible. He's propelled himself into the spot the last month and a half, I'd say. And Karl Anthony Towns, he's even better. He's actually playing a lot more like how we complained where we wanted him inside the 3-point arc. He is not Steph Curry 7 feet tall. He's giving you 25 and 11, I believe, on 50% shooting, 40% from 3. This is the Karl Anthony Towns we wanted that shoots threes at a lower but incredibly efficient clip. You obviously can make the case Jalen Brunson's the best Knicks player, but Cat's been so consistent throughout the year. When he's been dominant, he has been dominant. Betting his overs early in the season helped me win a lot more money than I should have. And of course, Cade Cunningham, Anthony Edwards, Steph Curry, Evan Mobley, Karl Anthony Towns. That's what I have for my second team, all NBA.
I like it. It's funny. Cat for me, and I'll surprise nobody maybe by this. He didn't make the list, and either second or third team, and I'm going to go ahead and say that now. And the reason why is his defense sucks so bad.
It has not been his strong suit. Considering when he came out of Kentucky, he was a defensive guy, and then now it's gone now.
I had to pick one struggling center / forward that on defense who plays exceptional offense, and he wasn't the guy. Nobody will be surprised when I tell you who my guy is down the road. But I will say, he was originally on my second team, but he got scratched off. And DJ, you've seen my list, so you know that's true. And it's funny because he's just so close, and and you're right, he did do everything right. He played down low, he played outside, he played everything you needed him to offensively. Distributor, second chance guy, everything in between that we've ever asked from Cat, he actually did this season. And that's why it hurt to leave him off this list, because I was like, I just don't know where to fit him though. Because like you said, we got 3 pounds and we got 17 sacks of potatoes. We got to make it all work. I don't know which one to put where. So, but yeah, otherwise I understand your list a lot. I disagree with a couple of pieces, but yeah, I definitely understand it.
Well, where they are different, they are also very similar. So let's go ahead and take a look at your list, Kelcey, and run us through it.
Yeah. So obviously, like you said, Cade, Anthony Edwards, Evan Mobley, all on both our lists. Where I go different is it's actually Jalen Brunson, not Jalen Brown, is on my list. Jalen Brown was an honorable mention, but he didn't make my list. And Jalen Brunson, however, the reason I'm glad you left him off my list, though, on that graphic, because one reason only. He needs 2 more games played to be eligible. And there are only 3 more games left for the Knicks. So there's a possibility he doesn't become eligible. But here's why I have Brunson on here versus Jalen Brown, and it's 26.2 points a night. It's the assist totals. It's 7.4 assists. It's the amount of opportunities he gives his team to win. We just talked about Cat. It's the amount of what he does for Cat to get him up there. And the last one, obviously, LeBron on my list, besides Evan Mobley, is, LeBron's been one of the best players in the league still, yet again, in year 22 at this point in time. He's outstanding. He continues to play well. Cade has been one of the best guards in the league all season, and has, as you said, one of the best guards all time. And I will admit when I was wrong, but I still stand by the first couple of seasons. He wasn't a top 20 player despite everybody's other opinions. I think he grew into his own last year, and this year he's really taken the league by storm. And he's the big reason why Minnesota even has a fighting chance to be in the playoffs right now. The rest of that team is a different story, but it is the Ant story there. Jalen Brunson, though, is probably my one arguable, and he's also the one guy on any one of my teams that potentially won't make an All NBA team if he doesn't hit that 65 mark. So he's at 63. But yeah, so that's something to watch. But honestly, the way he's played, even when he missed games, this team sucked without him. And every opportunity he plays, the Knicks have a fighting chance. So yeah, he's my big kind of arguable on my second team. But yeah, it's the Cade Cunningham one, Anthony Edwards, Evan Mobley, LeBron, and then Brunson.
Absolutely. You don't have to convince me too much on Jalen Brunson. I just don't have him on my second team, but he will take the lead on my third team. Is I have Jalen Brunson, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Alfred Şengün. Jalen Brunson, everything you mentioned, he came back already. In theory, he should play at least 2 of the next 3. There's no reason for him to not, so I'm just putting him on there regardless. LeBron, everything you said, once again, another fantastic season. Did make the mark, even despite some of the injury concerns here and there, but 25, 7, and 8, or whatever it is, he still fills the stat sheet better than anybody else in the game, arguably 50% shooting. I know the Suns kind of have been absolutely trash and they've given up basically for the last month, but Kevin Durant still has been fantastic during that. Like, he is still truly Kevin Durant despite that team being an absolute embarrassment for all the talent they have. He's giving you 27, 6, and 4 on 53% shooting. I know they just had a miserable game against the Rockets where they lost by almost 40. He only gave you 11 points. So the timing of this could be better. However, he is a walking bucket and still, in my opinion, a top 10 player in the game. I don't know what happened to Phoenix where that collection of talent just did not work. It just does not make sense how terrible they are. He's, send him to Denver. Let him pair up with Nikola Jokic. They'll figure that out next year. I don't figure that out. Jaren Jackson Jr., the most consistent and arguably the best player on the Grizzlies this entire season. Defensively, he's in that same conversation, should be top 3 defense player of the year. His offense has come a long way too. He's been awesome. Then Alfred Şengün, the best player on the second best team in the West, the second best individual defensive rating on the season, and still giving you 20, 11, and 5 on 50% shooting, give or take. He's been incredibly Sabonis-like, just with slightly lesser stats and an elite defense. The only a handful of players I saw give Wemby a difficulty one-on-one while playing underneath. He's been absolutely sensational, I think, and a big reason why the Rockets are a comfortable 2 seed in the West. Why that congestion in the West is 3 through 8, not 2 through 8, because of what the Rockets have been able to do. And in that game that we just mentioned when they took it to the Suns, he's been absolutely sensational. And it was in the same vein of Mitchell, even if his numbers aren't gaudy. I couldn't quite leave the best player on the second best team in the West off of a team, especially when numbers back it up, defensively backs it up, and offensively he's as versatile as they come as a big man. Despite his shot looking a little bit goofy sometimes, defensively alone gets him on this list, and then offensively he adds an extra notch to it, which by that logic, I probably should have Draymond Green on here as the leader for Defensive Player of the Year. Where Şengün separates is what he does offensively as he contributes offensively.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, Şengün is a guy that he was also on my bonus list. So my bonus list was Cat, Jaylen Brown, and Sengun, because Sengun, everything he did last year offensively was offset by how bad his defense was last year. Well, this year his offense was so good, and guess what? He started to protect the rim, which for him is like, okay, you provided defensive opportunities here, and I understand why you put him there, because he was understandably good as a big man, and he was in that. I just joked about Cat being that guy that's stellar offense and then subpar defense. He was that guy last year, and that's why he got left off most NBA teams, first, second, or third team. He still missed my list, but that's not because he didn't have a good season, but it's because I preferred a different person who statistically should qualify in this category, in my opinion. But I guess I'll get to that in a minute. But otherwise, I like the rest of your list. I understand where you're all coming from, and especially Jalen Brunson being a third teamer is no problem in my eyes. He should be a second or third teamer at the very least. So yeah, I like your list though.
I really wish there was a way where we could actually have first, second, and third all play each other. Because looking at the match for that, I want to see a team with Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and Sengun go against Jokic, Giannis, Jason Tatum, and then the second team having Steph, Cade Cunningham, Anthony Edwards, and Evan Mobley. Like I wish there was a way to get these to actually happen when they play each other. It'd just be so incredibly fun, like an exhibition or something.
I will disappoint you a little bit. As of today, Kevin Durant is no longer eligible for the All NBA teams.
Well, that's frustrating.
He was ruled out, so he will officially miss the 65 game mark as of literally tonight. So,
well, that definitely puts a little damper on what I was hoping for there. But alas, it still remains. He has been sensational. I will plug somebody else into his spot then. But we're gonna move on to third team. Kelcey, who do you have on your third team?
Yeah, so my third team, it starts with Steph, your guy on the second team. Jalen Williams, to me, is a guy for the Thunder. You talk about best players, best teams. Well, he's second best player on the best team in the West. It's hard to say that guy doesn't deserve it. Trae Young, leader in assists. Yeah, he plays for the Hawks. Okay, so be it. Leader in assists, 11.6 assists per game. You got to give the guy the credit. Jaren Jackson Jr., as you said, he's top 3 defensive players, and he's probably not number 3, honestly. He's right behind Evan Mobley in that conversation. And if it wasn't for an injury, he probably does supplant Evan Mobley at one point in time. Domantas Sabonis, that's my big guy with stellar offense, bad defense here. Yes, I'm a little biased, but he does lead the league in rebounds. And if you lead the league in a stat, I have a hard time. And I say a stat, I say a top 3 stat. Top 4 stat, if you will. Steals, rebounds, assists, points. You can even add, blocks in that if you want to. So let's say a top 5 assist. If you're at the top in any of those categories, I have a hard time seeing you not make one of these teams, not make a potential All NBA team in any way, shape, or form. Like, there needs to be some kind of credence for leading the league in some stat. And yes, he has been supplanted by DeMar DeRozan. He has been supplanted by Malik Monk in the offensive category. He's still a walking double-double, though. And that's for me why I gave him the nod on the third team versus everybody else as I named. But yeah, otherwise my list, Jalen Williams might be the one surprise on my list compared to everybody else's. But I think everything he's done this season tells me that if it wasn't for SGA being on that team, he carries that team, and they're probably not out of the playoff conversation in OKC. Don't get me wrong. SGA is great, but I still see the Thunder with Jalen Williams leading the charge, even though he's a 2-guard / power forward, according to his stats last year. The guy is still an all-star. The guy is still successful. And honestly, he could lead this Thunder team to be a 4 or 5 seed just by himself. With SGA, it's a 1 seed, easy. But how good he has played this season, I have a hard time saying he misses this list. Same with the rest of this crew. So
I'll say, with Jalen Williams, if they're a top 4 seed with just him leading the way, that explains why they're an arguably all-time regular season team with SGA on top of it. So they've been incredible. Making the substitution. No Kevin Durant. I'm going to take him out. I'm going to plug in Tyrese Halliburton. He's giving you 19 and 9. What's crazy is for someone who handles the ball so much in assists like that, top 3 in assists, we all know what he could do. The Pacers are 4. He's averaging 1.5 turnovers. Everyone else in that category is averaging 4.5, 4 because they handle the ball so much. The fact that he takes care of the ball so much is incredible. So we'll plug in Tyrese Halliburton for my Kevin Durant pick just to get that out of the way. But revisiting yours too, in the same vein, I do like seeing the love for Trae Young because he is second in assists, I believe it is. They're going to be in the play-in. They're going to get bounced early, but that's because as a team, they're kind of a mess. But that's not Trae Young's fault. He's done everything that they have asked him to do. scoring, rebounding, not rebounding, sorry, scoring, passing, definitely not rebounding.
Yeah.
But he leads the league in assists, as you mentioned. He's giving you 24 points per game, 41% from the field, 33% from three. I would like him to shoot not 8 3-pointers a game, because I think he's still so much better when he's doing his floater in the lane when he's Tony Parker. But alas, when you're the Hawks, he has to play like it's Oklahoma because they don't have a whole lot else going on. So I do like the Trae Young love to go with Jalen Williams as well. And of course, the bonus, as I mentioned, Sabonis could go on any one of these teams. Statistically, he should be on just about any one of these teams. The downside is your Kings have, not been kingly. The beam has not been lit nearly enough this year, which is why I think he gets overlooked a bit.
Yeah, and obviously they're in the play-in right now. They're the 9 seeds, so they're in the play-in potentially, but that could change in 2 nights. Probably not. I think they're still locked into the play-in. Whether or not the Mavs get that, I will see. So, but yeah, as of right now, I don't know. I'm excited for what the Kings could possibly do if they can get in the playoffs. I just don't know if they're going to get in the playoffs. So obviously they need to succeed there. But yeah, Sabonis is a hard guy. He continues to be overlooked. Like a walking double-double is like, it seems like it's no big deal to a lot of these voters for things. And it's just like, what? Do you know how hard it is to average 20 points and 10 rebounds in a game, or 18 points and 20 rebounds? Like, come on, guys. Kevin Love did it, and now he barely walks anymore because of how tough it is on your body. I don't know. He's just my big arguable. Then along with Jalen Brunson, if Jalen Brunson can hit the 65 game marks on the second team, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see what anybody has to say about that, because I imagine I irritated some people by leaving Cat off and by Jaylen Brown not being on there as well.
I feel like anyone who's, I think if the beam was just sitting at like the 7th seed or something like that, they were just a little bit like they've clinched the play-in spot. It's just, if they were just 2 years ago when they were a top 3-4 seed, give or take. Yeah, I think that's when everyone's like, oh, it's a bonus like that, but very short memories that we almost forget. So. And we'll see. Maybe next year with Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, maybe it meshes a little bit cleaner. Yeah. Maybe.
Hey, second duo to ever score 35-plus points in a game.
Exactly. So maybe next year they can kind of all mesh together, because if you go from De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis as your 1-2 punch, a point guards / center duo, to now 3 2 guards playing for you, give or take, and then your facilitating center. It's a very interesting collection. They'll see if they could definitely shave it off, and maybe he'll get that love next year that he needs.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I'm not holding my breath. That's for sure.
Neither am I. But that is what we have for our all NBA teams. Let us know down in the comments where we were right, where we were wrong, which I know plenty of people are going to say we are wrong, especially since Kevin decided to ruin mine at the last minute. But let us know in the comments what you have for your first, second, and third all NBA teams. And if you think you have a different first team all NBA. So I'm curious to see if other people do have different first teams than us, because there is some leeway, but I feel like it's relatively unanimous, but I can always be wrong. I'm always willing to hear, but that's now going to lead us from the main event to Kelcey's favorite part of every show, and that is, of course, crunch time. And for the crunch time, we usually have some rants, recaps, reveals, anything like that. So, Kelcey, we'll open the floor to you first. Is there anything that we needed to touch on in the world of sports, or anything that's grinding your gears?
Yeah, I do kind of want to touch on this Luka situation for a second, because I do find it very interesting. And I come from the standpoint of a guy who's a fan of a sport. And we always talk about owners and, needing to make the right decisions. We see it all the time in the NFL. You have the Browns right now struggling to make the right decision about Deshaun. And then you have teams like the Mavericks, who don't get penalized for trading away their best player. Yes, potentially for something out of Anthony Davis, but in a complaint about always being in a free market, you shut down trade conversations and only talk to one team about this. And in return, you galvanize your fan base in not a good way, because you didn't get the best possible return for your players. And we see all the time, all the conversation about draft picks in the NBA. Do they matter? Do they not? Honestly, they matter when it comes to a trade like this. Like, if you trade away Luka, you got to get draft picks. You got to get young. You got to get talent that's also currently playing. It feels like the Mavs only got one thing. And to see Luka be loved by the crowd in this return today was fantastic. To see that love and outpouring of emotion is amazing. It's a situation where you just wonder how it's going to pan out. Right now it's at half. He has 31 points. Is this going to forever be a situation where he just goes into a former arena and dominates every time? It's possible. I always find it funny that AD is the second highest scorer against a team he once played when he played originally against the Pelicans after he got traded away. And we're seeing Luka go off for 31 in the first half. This man might hit 60 in this game, and he'll be the number one all-time scorer against a previous team. And this could go down as the biggest bad beat trade of all time if it doesn't pan out for Anthony Davis in Dallas. So, I just want to say that it annoys me from the ownership standpoint that they don't face any penalties for this wild trade. That there was no guardrails, especially when we've seen a Chris Paul trade be vetoed by the league. It feels like this is one that you're like, what were we doing, NBA? How did we not have any say in this? And I know anybody who knows the history of why that Chris Paul trade got vetoed, it was because the NBA was acting as owners at the time for the Hornets. I don't care. Doesn't make me feel better about the situation. So, I just had to say, congratulations to Luka for the great reception. Thank you, Mavericks fans, for actually respecting the talent that was there and recognizing the situation that he didn't ask out. He was as blindsided as the rest of us in this. Maybe he got the call 15 minutes early, but that's it. This is a situation that, he's done everything right in his conversations. The Mavericks tried to trash him on the way out. They traded their best player for not enough. And I kind of hope this continues to bite him in the butt as long as Nico Harrison is there. And I hope wherever Nico goes in the future, whether it's after this season or not, I hope it's a situation where, every team he works as a GM for, Luka comes in and dominates that team, whether it's the Kings or not. Whether Nico goes to the Kings at some point in time, I don't care. Luka comes in, I want him to score 50, because that's just disrespectful on so many levels. And I'll say the same thing, going a little bit further. Mike Malone, I hope the next team he goes to, he dominates the Nuggets every time out, because barring some kind of crazy negative situation, how do you trade the best coach you've ever had? Or how do you get rid of the best coach you've ever had just because you don't like the way he's acting to the GM who's obviously doing a bad job? Your team's in the top four in your conference. Your coach is doing a good job with what he's been given, and if he's been given a pile of manure and he's turning it into some kind of bed for roses, you're going to still fire him before the roses bloom. Come on, what are we doing here? So yeah, just ownership. I need to see penalties to ownership is really where I'm getting with this. Whether it be from trades, whether it be from firings, I need some penalties on some ownership because they put the fans through hell and they don't get any repercussions. So I need to see that. That's what I need.
I'm gonna be the only Rico Harrison defender in the entire world. They at least called the Timberwolves and asked for Anthony Edwards. So they did make one other call. They went outlandish. So at least they made two calls. They did not make nearly enough. Everything else is accurate, but I will not stand for this misinformation campaign. They at least made one other.
You're right. Let me correct myself. If I called Prince's estate right now and asked for Prince's entire record book, that would be the exact same thing as what the Mavs did by calling the Timberwolves and asking for Anthony Edwards. You just went for the most untouchable thing in the world, and you're never going to get it.
They tried to trade arguably the most untouchable player when you factor in youth and everything for the second most untouchable player, arguably, or give or take whichever way you want to, just when you factor in age and everything too. Obviously Jason Tatum, and there's other guys in that conversation, but those two, it's okay, that doesn't make sense because Timberwolves are that is our elite player. Why would we do this? Even if that's just crazy.
That's me going up to That's me going up to Secret Service and asking to find out where JFK's brain was stationed after it was removed. What are we doing here, guys? By the way, one of the great conspiracy theories in the world that we'll never know the answers to, even after the reports were released.
Well, on that regard, we're going to transition from brains to potential brain damages. We're going to talk a little bit about UFC and what goes on in the octagon, but I'm not going to actually talk about what's happening in the octagon. I'm talking about what happens outside of it. We're talking about the malarkey that has been the UFC matchmaking. And I'm exclusively looking at Movsar Evloev, the number 2 ranked featherweight in the world, 19-0, just earned a title shot in his last fight, arguably, is about as boring and uncharismatic as a gluten-free cracker covered in water. There's not a whole lot of fun when it comes to watching him or listening to him. However, as a professional, he has earned the right to compete for a title. But instead, he is not only getting a different fight, he is fighting Aaron Pico, Aaron Pico is an incredible outside the UFC prospect. Just got signed. It's going to be his UFC debut, though. He's fighting a UFC debuting guy in Aaron Pico who 3-4 years ago was the biggest prospect on the line. Coming up, he's the outstanding wrestler who knocks people out. Everyone wanted to see him. Like, it's just a matter of time. Suffers a couple of bad losses, some knockout losses. The steam cools off. Ecstatic to get him in the UFC, but this is the matchup you give him. It's unfair for him. UFC jitters, and he gets to face and the ultimate wet blanket wrestler and Masvar Evolov, and the number 5 ranked guy in your UFC debut. Like, what are we doing? And for Evolov, you have the title fight happening it is Wednesday, so we are less than 100 hours away from the title fight with Volkanovski and Diego Lopez, which, by the way, check out our video Friday. We'll have breakdowns, predictions, and betting, so don't be sure to miss that. Don't be sure to miss that. But as soon as that fight's done, he's your number 1 contender. He is clearly next in line. He arguably should have been in line first, but Diego Lopez did it. He took some short notice fights and is a lot more exciting with his goofy looking mohawk and his swinging fist like a tornado. So, of course, he's going to get that shot. Why you made this match is just absolutely beyond me. And there's been a lot of UFC cards where you look at it and you're like, this matchmaking looks like a Nico Harrison trade right now. I don't know what we're doing. You look at some of the fight cards they put on together, it's like, this looks like the Dallas Mavericks books right now, or it looks like their ticket sales. It's plummeting. There's so many options, and they haven't quite pulled the trigger. But this one for matchmaking, I'm just like, what are we doing? The number 2 ranked guy on the verge of a title fight, and you're matching him up with a newcomer. Kudos to him for taking the fight. He could have said no, but that never works out, unfortunately. When you're in a monopoly business, you say no, it usually doesn't go well. But why are you even offering this one? The featherweight is one of the deepest divisions. You could have pulled anybody, and you picked the number 2 ranked guy who should have a title shot. I'm so confused by what the match base, and we don't have enough time for me to go into the long history of it. There's a lot of them, but this is the most recent one. It's like, why are we doing this? What is the thinking? Or you can make so many other matches, so many fun matches. Pick someone in the top 10 coming off a loss, like Aljamain Sterling, who just lost to Evelev. Both outstanding wrestlers. Pico is known as a wrestler. That's why when he started knocking people out, it's like, this is the chosen one. Here we go. That's why he had so much hype. He will cancel out some of Aljamain's wrestling, but he's such a pain in the insert 3-letter word here to fight that would be a good test for him, Pico. And if he wins, you propel him in the top 10 because he beats the number 8 ranked guy. Then you can have him fight. If Evelev still hasn't had a title by then you have it. But number 2 versus unranked newcomer makes absolutely no sense. And I really hope, I don't want to say I hope it doesn't happen because that means somebody got hurt usually, but I really hope they rethink it and figure something else out because this is blasphemy. There's no other way to put it. It's absolute blasphemy. I know Evelev is a decision machine. Like, he has 5 consecutive decisions, 19-0 with 7 finishes. Most of the epitome of a decision machine. But, like, what are we doing here? That doesn't mean just give him a newcomer and stash to the side. And for a newcomer, that's not who you want to fight in your first fight. UFC jitters are a real thing. Your arms are probably going to be a little bit heavier than normal. There's probably a little bit of nerves there. I'm not going to make the mom spaghetti joke that I was thinking about. But it's the last thing you want is someone who's going to be basically holding on to you and being a wet blanket on you for the entire time. So I disagree with this decision making 1,000%, and it's just I really hope it ends up not happening. They rethink it because they both deserve better for sure.
Yeah, I get it.
Not a breath I had to rant for that. My goodness.
No, that makes sense. It's one of those things in the UFC, as you said, it's hard if you ever turn down a fight to ever succeed, because then you're looked at as, he doesn't obviously want to fight anybody. He just wants to fight the matchmaker. And it almost feels like you're like Curtis Blades at that point in time, where you just go forever in a career and you don't get that many opportunities. It's just, I don't know, man. It's one of those things like good on the kid for taking it, but good luck. I hope you have a good cut team. Like, I don't know what's about to happen to him, but yeah, that's a wild situation. The UFC gets wild, more and more almost rigged in a lot of ways in these situations for a title bout. It feels like, from an outside perspective.
I actually just got the update too. So update, it's not happening now. So we're good. I spoke it into existence, but it was signed and called to happen. But Evelev just said, no, he's not going to do that. He is going to wait for the winner of the title fight. So he shifted his attention now, Pico. So we are good. It was updated that he understands, like, Evelev basically said that is not happening, but it was initially the call was made and that was the plan. They said, yep, we're ready to go. Masvar was like, yeah, I don't think so. So you know what? We're good. The complaints did work out, but still the audacity of this one. What are we thinking?
They're listening to the show as we speak. That's the important thing.
they listened to it well before it happened. So I just missed that
They
part. But
listened to our prep work. That's what it was.
like absolutely crazy. So basically, the fight was ready to go, and then Ivalev's like, "Yeah, that's not happening." But still, we can't be having this kind of matchmaking. We need to be on top of it. There's a lot of good fights to be made over the next handful of months, and none of them are getting announced. Instead, we're just getting malarkey. That's the only way to describe it. They're being spread way too thin. We need to start packing these. There's a lot of they got to get back on there. You know what? Because it's been a rough year for the UFC so far as matchmaking and skills. But this is what we have so far for Crunch Time and for the High Low Sports Podcast. We appreciate y'all for joining us here on this Wednesday evening, or if it's checking us out later on in the week. Be sure to follow us on all of our socials, and be sure to keep an eye on us as we do have the NFL Draft coming up. So we have a lot more stuff coming up for that, including more mock draft Mondays, and of course our live NFL Draft show coming up for the first round, which you don't want to miss. We've done that the last handful of years, and it gets better and better each time. So we appreciate you all for hanging out with us, and we'll see you all again next